So for all of those reasons, I'm bullish on the future of agriculture and resource-based industries in Florida in particular and throughout the country. But it is imperiled by poor public policy. I think that the marketplace, the innovation is there, and it is very broad. I had an opportunity to speak to an audience similar to this a couple of weeks ago at the Farm to Fuel Summit. And in the course of the 2.5 hours that I was there throughout the day, I was told, man, algae's absolutely the next big thing. Man, there's no way in the world that algae's ever going to work. Biodiesel is absolutely the way to go. Jatropha's dead. It can't handle the cold. Jatropha's the next big thing. Don't mess with Jatropha. Eucalyptus is the way to go. Camelina is the next big thing. We're putting everything into CNAF. Somebody in that room is going to be right, and somebody in that room is going to be wrong. And that's really the beauty of that entrepreneurial system, and we're all going to find out. But we're ready for that breakthrough. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time now, and we've been investing in research and investing in grants and investing in things, and I think that we're all waiting on really for that first spade to turn that's going to put the infrastructure in place for us to really find out if we can scale up and make this work. In theory, man, we're all there. But from a public policy standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, I think that we're ready to see it reach that next level of maturity so that we can really find out what's going to go and what's not. And in many cases, that, as I said, is so distorted by the public policy that we have to be very careful to nurture the innovation that's out there in this room and that was in that room and that's out there in the countryside in terms of how we convert waste to energy and how we grow energy crops and how we become less dependent as a nation on unstable sources of fuel, but do it in a way that's not picking winners and losers. And unfortunately, public policy makers just can't help themselves. And so as a potential private investor, it's got to be terribly frustrating to think I'm only one election away from solar credits being out and wind being in and nuclear being out and ethanol being in and corn's out and Jatropha's in, or Jatropha's out and corn's back because it's a farm bill and it's a presidential year and Iowa goes first. And all of those distortions are really impacting our ability to bring some consistency to the investment community and reduce the volatility so that the volatility is only volatility in terms of whether the technology will go or not and whether the marketplace will support it or not. But we need to remove the political volatility, the political uncertainty, so that we can really find out what the market will bear and which technology will rise, and then we can all fall in behind it and make this thing go. And so I say all of that when you look at the debate about cap and trade, which I believe is over for this year, but it is not over entirely in the sense that it's not going away. And so we all, I think, have to prepare for some form of a carbon statute in the Congress, whether it comes about this year or next year or the year after. I don't think that debate's going away. Cap and trade, as we know it, is not going to pass this year. It will wait till after the elections, but that debate itself isn't going away. It may not look like it looks today. It almost certainly won't look like it looks today. But it's a debate that you can't disengage from. You have a farm bill debate looming. You have this numeric nutrient criteria coming down the tracks very rapidly for the state of Florida, and other states will soon follow. In fact, there's some argument, and it has not been disproved, that as soon as Florida has it, it immediately applies to our neighbors due to the upstream values that the EPA has established. And so under that rationale, it will be nationwide very quickly. So all of those bundles of legislative activity or of regulatory activity impact the innovative class, all of you. It impacts your ability to integrate these solutions in a world where there's this political volatility. And so it's my view that as we move forward, we have to continue to nurture this nascent industry, continue to invest in the basic research functions, support our land grant systems, support a competitive grant model, support a lot of the basic research that USDA and Department of Energy are doing, but carefully avoid the temptation to pick winners and losers through a distorted set of incentives and disincentives that end up biasing investment toward one crop or one technology over another. But clearly, we are looking at a more aggressive regulatory atmosphere, particularly as it relates to waste, which must give greater impetus to the work that you have been doing. The waste regulations will be there whether the technology to convert it to energy has arrived or not. It would be nice for those two trains to arrive at the station at the same time. But there's no guarantee that that will happen. And certainly the regulation of waste has accelerated and intensified, particularly in spring sheds and other sensitive watersheds, and I would argue particularly in the state of Florida. And so we have to proceed with all due haste the collaboration across government agencies, across the research fields, to really arrive at the solution that not only works in the laboratory, but works when you're knee-deep in waste on a Swanee Valley farm, and is economical for that farmer to make that kind of investment, or for farms to pool together in some type of cooperative arrangement. We have to be able to scale up or scale down that technology in a way that the dollars and cents works. I mean, it's just not enough for it to work in a lab in Gainesville. We've got to make the numbers work for the farmers. And if we don't, we're going to lose American agriculture. It's just that simple. Carbon policy, which is I think indelibly tied to all of these things, even though on their because they all tend to move together. I mean, if there's going to be a major rewrite of Clean Water or Clean Air Act, a major policy like cap and trade, it has to recognize all of these things as one, and they're very likely in a legislative arena to be tied together. The message that I've tried to share with the agriculture community is that carbon policy is coming no matter what its name will be. I mean, cap and trade could be voted down, cap and trade could die and never come back. I think that's, number one, highly unlikely. But whether Congress of the United States acts on cap and trade is irrelevant if Walmart decides to adopt a carbon policy. I mean, it's just that simple. And that's basically the direction that they and other major retailers are moving. You know, I'm a citrus grower. Pepsi, who owns Tropicana, you know, they're interested enough in this movement by the major retailers that they've done a study on what the carbon footprint of a half gallon of orange juice is. It's 3.75 pounds of carbon per half gallon. Not real sure what that means, but they wanted to know what the number was. And you know, there's arguments that the study was incomplete, that it didn't back out the net positives that having a tree crop certainly provides the overall atmosphere and the overall carbon count. But the bottom line is still the same, that discussions by a major retailer about requiring all of their vendors to have a baseline carbon footprint, which one would reasonably assume is then going to lead to them putting you on a glide path that we want you to reduce your carbon footprint by 5% every year for the next 5 years or some such thing, is driving behavior in the marketplace.